The shattered peace, the crystalline spires of Nexus Station gleamed like frozen starlight against the cosmic void. For the first time in 8 centuries, representatives of the Veltharian Empire and the Cordon Republic stood together in the same room without weapons drawn. The great hall buzzed with nervous energy as diplomats from both species prepared for the historic peace ceremony. Ambassador Vissis adjusted her translucent robes, the crystal formations along her arms pulsing with soft blue light. Her people had evolved on a world of living crystal, their bodies part organic, part mineral. She had spent 40 years of her 300-year lifespan working toward this moment. The war had consumed her childhood, her education, and most of her adult life. Today, finally, it would end. Across the hall, General Kron stood rigid in his ceremonial armor. His metallic skin reflected the chamber's lighting, and the geometric patterns etched into his face told the story of his military service. Each line represented a battle fought, a victory earned, or a loss mourned. The Cordon people had evolved from silicon-based life forms, their bodies naturally incorporating metals from their homeworld's rich or deposits. Crone had fought the Veltharians for over a century, but even he was tired of the endless bloodshed. The war had begun over mining rights in the Theta sector. What started as a commercial dispute had escalated into a galactic conflict that claimed billions of lives. Entire star systems had been reduced to debris fields. Colonies had been evacuated and abandoned. Children had grown up knowing only the reality of war. The ceremony proceeded with ancient ritual. Both leaders spoke the traditional words of their peoples, formally ending hostilities and establishing trade agreements. The Veltharian choir sang harmonies that resonated through their crystal bodies, creating ethereal music that filled the station. Cordon drummers beat out rhythmic patterns on instruments made from their homeworld's native metals, the sound echoing off the walls like industrial machinery finding its soul. As the formal proceedings concluded, both delegations relaxed slightly. Refreshments were served, and cautious conversations began between former enemies. The mood was hopeful but fragile, like a delicate sculpture that might shatter at the slightest disturbance. Commander Zeth monitored the celebrations from the station's command center. His crystalline form was more angular than Ambassador Vissis, reflecting his military background. The Veltharian fleet had positioned 12 ships around Nexus Station for security, while the Cordon Republic had sent 15 vessels of their own. For the first time in centuries, ships from both fleets shared the same space without firing upon each other. The bridge displays showed peaceful green indicators. Across all systems, long-range sensors detected nothing unusual in the surrounding sectors. Trade routes that had been closed for generations were already being discussed for reopening. The galaxy seemed ready to embrace peace. That changed when Ensign Mora, a young Veltharian officer, noticed something odd on her sensor display. The readings showed energy signatures coming from Sector X7, a region of space that had been considered empty for millennia. The signals were faint but consistent, unlike anything in their databases. Commander Zeth examined the readings himself. The energy patterns were completely unknown, using technologies that neither Veltharian nor Cordon science could identify. The signals seemed to be growing stronger, as if something was approaching from that empty region of space. General Kron was summoned to the command center, his heavy footsteps echoing through the corridors. When he saw the sensor data, his metallic features hardened with concern. In 800 years of war, both species had mapped every star system, every asteroid field, every possible hiding place in their region of the galaxy. Sector X7 had always been empty space, useful only as a buffer zone between their territories. the unknown signals continued to strengthen. Whatever was out there was moving toward inhabited space at a speed that suggested advanced propulsion technology. Commander Zeth ordered a probe to be dispatched toward the energy signatures, but it would take hours to reach the source and report. Back, Ambassador Thesis was informed of the situation during the evening reception. Her crystal form dimmed with worry as she considered the implications. A new player entering their region of space could disrupt the fragile peace they had just established. If this unknown force was hostile, the Veltharians and Cordons might find themselves fighting together against a common enemy. If it was peaceful, they would need to establish diplomatic protocols for first contact. The party atmosphere in the Great Hall gradually shifted as word of the mysterious signals spread through both delegations. Conversations became more subdued. Military officers began checking their communication devices for updates from their fleets. The celebration continued, but tension filled the air like an approaching storm. 3 hours after the first detection, the probe reached the edge of Sector X7 and began transmitting data back to Nexus Station. The images that appeared on the command center screens left everyone speechless. A single ship moved through space toward their position, but it was unlike anything in their technological databases. The vessel was roughly cylindrical, with a white and blue hull marked with symbols that meant nothing to Veltharian or Cordon translators. It appeared primitive compared to the sleek crystal ships of the Empire or the armored fortresses of the Republic. The propulsion system used some form of reaction drive, technology so ancient that both species had abandoned it thousands of years ago. Yet the ship moved with purpose and confidence, its course set directly for the inhabited systems. Whoever was aboard seemed to know exactly where they were going and showed no signs of fear or hesitation. Despite being completely outnumbered in a region controlled by 2 major galactic powers, Commander Zeth opened a channel to both fleets. All vessels were placed on high alert, but no weapons were to be charged unless the unknown ship showed hostile intent. The last thing anyone wanted was for first contact with a new species to begin with violence, especially during a peace celebration. The mysterious ship continued its steady approach. Attempts to communicate with it using standard galactic frequencies received no response. The vessel's hull appeared to be made of unknown materials that partially blocked their sensors, making it impossible to determine what was inside or how many crew members it carried. General Kron studied the tactical displays with the practiced eye of a veteran warrior. The ship was small, no larger than a courier vessel. Its energy output suggested minimal defensive capabilities, yet something about it made him uneasy. In his experience, only 2 types of beings traveled through dangerous space without fear: fools and those who knew they were more dangerous than they appeared. Ambassador Thies felt a different kind of concern. The timing was too convenient to be coincidence. Unknown aliens arriving during the most important diplomatic event in 8 centuries suggested either incredible luck or careful planning. If this was some kind of trap or deception, it could destroy the peace process before it truly began. The ship finally responded to communication attempts when it reached the outer edge of the Nexus system. The signal was transmitted on multiple frequencies and in several languages, including basic galactic standard. The voice that filled the command center spoke with an unfamiliar accent, but the words were clear enough. "This is Captain Alina Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Wanderer. We are explorers from a world called Terra. We detected unusual energy signatures from this region and came to investigate. We request permission to approach your station for peaceful contact and dialogue." The silence that followed lasted nearly a full minute. Everyone in the command center stared at each other in confusion. Earth, terror. No one had ever heard of such worlds. The galactic star charts showed no inhabited systems in the direction the ship had traveled. Yet here was proof that an entire civilization existed in what they had thought was empty space. Commander Zeth was the first to recover from the shock. He authorized the approach but insisted on heavy escort. Within minutes, the small human ship found itself surrounded by some of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Valtharian crystal destroyers took position on one side while cordon battle. Cruisers formed up on the other. Their combined firepower could have destroyed a small moon. The human response was both surprising and somehow reassuring. Captain Rodriguez's voice remained calm and professional as she acknowledged the escort. She expressed appreciation for the welcome and curiosity about the various ship designs she was observing. There was no fear in her tone, no demands or threats. She spoke like someone genuinely interested in making new friends. The Wanderer was guided to Docking Bay 12, the largest berth available on Nexus Station. As the ship settled into position, crowds gathered at the observation windows to catch their first glimpse of the mysterious visitors. The vessel looked even more primitive up close, with visible repair patches and signs of long travel. Yet it had somehow crossed the vast emptiness between galactic arms to reach them. The docking process completed without incident. Atmospheric readings confirmed that the ship contained oxygen-breathing life forms, though the exact atmospheric composition was slightly different from either Valtharian or Cordon norms. Life support systems quickly adjusted the docking bay to accommodate the visitors. Security teams from both fleets positioned themselves around the docking bay. But their orders were clear: observe and protect, but do not threaten unless threatened. This was a moment of historic importance, potentially the first contact with a completely new form of intelligent life. The anticipation in the command center was almost unbearable as they waited for the human ship to open its doors. Ambassador Thisis found herself hoping that these strangers would prove to be peaceful. The galaxy had seen enough war. Perhaps these humans could be the fresh perspective needed to make the new peace permanent. General Kron prepared for any possibility. His warrior instincts told him to expect danger, but his diplomatic training reminded him that this could be an opportunity. If these humans were peaceful, they might serve as neutral mediators in future disputes. If they were hostile, at least, the Valtharians and Cordons would face the threat together as allies instead of enemies. The airlock of the human ship finally opened with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. What emerged would change the course of galactic history forever, though none of them could have predicted just how dramatically their universe was about to expand. The test of Unity Captain Alina Rodriguez stepped onto Nexus Station with the confident stride of someone who had explored dozens of unknown worlds. She was average height for her species, with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and intelligent brown eyes that seemed to take in every detail of her surroundings. Behind her came the other humans: Dr. James Chen, their xenobiologist, and linguist, Chief Engineer Maria Santos, Navigator Tom Mitchell, and Security Chief David Park. The humans showed no fear despite being surrounded by heavily armed aliens, whose weapons could vaporize them in seconds. Instead, they appeared genuinely fascinated by their hosts. Dr. Chen immediately began recording observations on a small device, while Engineer Santos studied the station's architecture with professional interest. Ambassador Thisis stepped forward to greet the visitors. Her crystalline form caught the station's lighting, creating beautiful patterns of refracted light across the walls. Welcome to Nexus Station, Captain Rodriguez. I am Ambassador Thesis of the Veltharian Empire. This is General Crone of the Cordon Republic. We are honored by your visit, though we must admit your arrival has surprised us greatly. Captain Rodriguez smiled warmly. The honor is ours, Ambassador Thesis. We've dreamed of this moment for generations. Ever since we detected organized radio signals coming from this direction. To finally meet other intelligent species is incredible. She gestured to her crew. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. General Cron studied the humans with the analytical gaze of a veteran warrior. They appeared physically fragile compared to either Veltharians or Cordons, with no natural armor or obvious weapons. Yet there was something in their bearing that suggested hidden strength. Captain Rodriguez, our sensors indicate your ship uses reaction propulsion. Such technology is thousands of years old by our standards. How did you cross the void between galactic arms with such primitive systems? Dr. Chen stepped forward with a slight smile. General Cron, I think there might be some confusion about our propulsion system. The Wanderer uses quantum field manipulation for interstellar travel. What you're detecting as reaction drives are just our maneuvering thrusters for docking and atmospheric flight. The revelation stunned everyone present. Quantum field manipulation was theoretical even to the most advanced Veltharian and Cordon scientists. The idea that these apparently primitive beings had mastered such technology seemed impossible. Commander Zeth arrived in the docking bay with a squad of his best officers. His crystalline features were sharp with curiosity and concern. Captain Rodriguez, would you be willing to share technical specifications of your drive system? Such knowledge could benefit all our civilizations. Captain Rodriguez exchanged glances with her crew before responding diplomatically. Commander, we appreciate your interest, but our protocols require us to understand the political and military situation before sharing advanced technologies. We've learned that good intentions can sometimes lead to unintended consequences. The irony was not lost on anyone present. These humans, who had just emerged from what everyone considered empty space, were treating to galactic superpowers as potentially dangerous children who couldn't be trusted with advanced technology. The first formal meeting took place in the station's main conference room. Representatives from all three species sat around a circular table with translation computers, working overtime to bridge the gaps between their languages. The humans listened intently as Ambassador Disses and General Crone explained the history of their conflict and the peace agreement they had just signed. Captain Rodriguez asked thoughtful questions about the war's origins and the terms of the peace treaty. Her crew took detailed notes and seemed genuinely interested in understanding the complex political situation. When the formal presentations concluded, Dr. Chen offered an observation that left everyone silent. It seems to us that both your civilizations have remarkable technologies and rich cultures. The war appears to have started over resource scarcity, but you've both developed such advanced manufacturing that scarcity should no longer be an issue. Perhaps the conflict continued more from habit and mistrust than from actual need. The simple truth of his statement was uncomfortable for everyone to hear. 800 years of war, billions of deaths, and vast resources wasted, all because neither side had been willing to step back and look for alternatives to conflict. Navigator Tom Mitchell studied the star charts that covered one wall of the conference room. If I may ask, what's in this region here? He pointed to a section of space that appeared empty on all the displays. Our long-range sensors detected some unusual energy patterns from that direction before we arrived. Commander Zeth's crystal. Form flickered with concern. That is Sector X7. It has always been empty space, a buffer zone between our territories. We detected the same energy patterns you mentioned, but our probes found nothing significant. That's interesting, Engineer Santos said, consulting her own instruments. Our sensors are picking up something different. The energy signatures look like activation patterns, as if something that has been dormant for a very long time is waking up. Before anyone could respond to this troubling observation, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red as Commander Zeth received an urgent communication from his flagship. His crystalline features darkened as he listened to the report. "What is it, Ambassador?" Thesis asked, her own form dimming with worry. "Long-range sensors have detected massive energy discharges in Sector X7, Commander Zeth replied grimly. "Something is destroying our monitoring probes. The automated systems we sent to investigate have gone silent one by one." General Crone was already accessing military communications from his own fleet. Cordon vessels report the same phenomenon. Whatever is out there is systematically eliminating our surveillance network. It appears to be moving toward inhabited space. Captain Rodriguez and her crew exchanged concerned glances. Dr. Chen checked his instruments and nodded grimly to his captain. "Alina, I'm reading massive power surges from that region. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases, but they're definitely artificial. Someone or something is activating very old, very powerful technology." The conference room transformed into an emergency command center as tactical displays were activated and communication links established with both fleets. The peaceful celebration was forgotten as military commanders from both species coordinated their response to this unknown threat. Admiral Chiron of the Veltharian fleet reported in from the flagship Crystal Dawn. "Commander Zeth, we've lost contact with all monitoring stations in the outer system. Whatever is approaching is jamming our communications and destroying our sensors. Long-range scans show a massive object moving through Sector X7, but we cannot determine its nature or origin." Fleet Marshal Voss of the Cordon Republic provided similar information from his flagship Iron Thunder. "General Kron, our deep space sensors are being systematically eliminated. The object appears to be several kilometers in length and is emitting energy patterns that interfere with our scanning technology. We estimate arrival in the Nexus system within 6 hours." The humans listened to these reports with growing concern. Engineer Santos worked quickly on her portable computer, analyzing the energy signatures and comparing them to Earth's historical databases. When she looked up, her expression was grim. "Captain, I think I know what we're dealing with. The energy patterns match theoretical models for ancient automated defense systems. Someone built a Guardian to protect this region of space, and our activities have triggered its awakening." Dr. Chen nodded agreement. "The chronology fits. This system was probably constructed long before either the Veltharian Empire or Cordon Republic existed. It's been dormant for millennia, but our recent military activities and energy discharges from the peace negotiations may have activated its programming." Ambassador Disses felt her crystal form grow cold with dread. "You mean this thing was built to defend against exactly the kind of conflict we've been fighting for 8 centuries. "That's our best guess," Captain Rodriguez replied. "And if it's anything like the theoretical models our scientists have developed, it won't distinguish between aggressor and defender. It will see all advanced technology as a threat to be eliminated." The tactical situation deteriorated rapidly over the next few hours. The mysterious object emerged from Sector X7. revealed itself to be a massive construction unlike anything in the galactic databases. It was clearly artificial, with geometric patterns covering its surface and energy conduits visible along its length. The construction was ancient beyond measure, built by a civilization that had vanished long before any current species had achieved spaceflight. The entity, which the humans dubbed the Silence due to its effect on communications, began systematically destroying every piece of advanced technology it encountered. Monitoring stations, communication relays, and automated systems simply stopped functioning as it passed. Most terrifyingly, any ship that approached too closely suffered complete system failures before drifting powerlessly in space. Fleet Admiral Chiron attempted to engage the entity with a squadron of his most advanced vessels. The Crystal Dawn and 5 escort ships approached at maximum scanner range, their energy weapons charged and ready. But as soon as they came within 10,000 kilometers of the Silence, their systems began failing. Crystal power cores went dark, navigation computers shut down, and weapon systems became unresponsive. The same fate befell Fleet Marshal Voss when he tried a different approach. His heavily armored battleships, designed to withstand massive punishment, became helpless drifting hulks when their metal hulls somehow lost their structural integrity. The advanced alloys that made cordon ships nearly indestructible simply stopped functioning properly near the Silence. Both fleets found themselves in the unprecedented situation of being completely outmatched by an enemy they couldn't understand or effectively engage. Centuries of military tradition and technological superiority meant nothing against this ancient guardian. Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical displays with the calm focus of an experienced explorer. While the alien commanders struggled with the failure of their advanced systems, she turned to her crew. Assessment. Engineer Santos consulted her instruments. The entity appears to disrupt any technology based on advanced energy manipulation or exotic materials. It's like it was specifically designed to counter the kind of superscience both these civilizations use. Dr. Chen added his analysis. The good news is that it doesn't seem interested in destroying inhabited worlds or killing people directly. It's targeting military assets and advanced technology, not civilians. The bad news is that both the Veltharian and Cordon civilizations are completely dependent on the kind of technology it's designed to eliminate. Navigator Mitchell looked up from his calculations. Captain, there's something else. The Silence isn't just randomly destroying things. It's moving in a pattern, systematically eliminating the most advanced military assets first. It's working its way up the technological ladder. Security Chief Park came to the obvious conclusion, which means eventually it's going to target anything that represents a significant technological advancement, including us. The realization sent a chill through the room. The humans had come seeking friendship and knowledge, but they had arrived just in time to face an enemy that could potentially destroy everything they held dear. Commander Zeth turned to the human delegation with something approaching desperation. Captain Rodriguez, your technology appears different from ours. Do you believe your ship could withstand contact with this entity? Captain Rodriguez considered the question carefully. Honestly, Commander, we don't know. Our technology is based on different principles than yours, but it's still advanced science. The Silence might consider us just as much a threat as your fleets. However, Dr. Chen interjected, there might be another approach. Our ship also carries older, more basic technologies as backup systems. Chemical rockets, mechanical computers, basic radio communications. If the Silence is specifically targeting advanced technology, it might ignore more primitive systems. General Kron looked skeptical. You propose to fight this entity with primitive technology. How could such basic systems possibly succeed where our most advanced warships have failed? Engineer Santos smiled grimly. General, sometimes the old ways work better than the new ones. This Guardian was built to counter super-advanced civilizations. It might not know how to deal with simple, straightforward engineering. What followed was the most unusual military planning session in galactic history. Human engineers worked alongside Veltharian crystal technicians and Cordon metallurgists to develop weapons and tactics using the most basic technologies available. Chemical explosives replaced energy weapons. Mechanical targeting systems replaced computer guidance. Radio communications replaced quantum entanglement networks. The plan that emerged was audacious in its simplicity. The human ship, stripped of its most advanced systems and equipped with backup technologies, would approach the silence and attempt to communicate with it using basic mathematical principles, broadcast on primitive radio frequencies. If communication failed, they would attempt to disable it using kinetic weapons and chemical explosives guided by mechanical computers. Both alien fleets would provide support using whatever basic systems they could jury-rig, but the primary assault would come from humanity's primitive technology. It was a desperate plan that relied on the hope that ancient programming might have a blind spot for simple engineering. As the Wanderer prepared for what might be the most important mission in galactic history, the three species worked together with unprecedented cooperation. The peace treaty signed just days earlier had been tested by crisis and emerged stronger. Whatever happened in the coming battle, the Veltharians, Cordons, and humans would face it as allies. The final confrontation with the Silence would determine not just the fate of this region of space, but whether advanced civilizations could coexist with the Guardians left behind by their predecessors. In the depths of space, an ancient machine prepared to defend against threats that no longer existed, while representatives of three worlds prepared to prove that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. The stage was set for a battle that would redefine what it meant to be technologically advanced in a universe where the greatest threats might come not from enemies, but from the good intentions of those who came before.